Hello, thank you everybody for coming. I'm Chair Natalie Billing, for any member of the public who might be watching. And we have a quorum of members here today. We have our regular member, Marge Gookins, our Vice Chair, and David Atwater, our Secretary, who's moved up from being an alternate to being a regular member. And we have Don and Marie Levinson, regular members. And we have a new alternate member, Denise Thompson. Welcome, Denise. Thank you. We're thrilled to have you here. So is it correct that you have not yet been sworn in by the town clerk?
That is correct.
Okay, so strictly speaking, since you haven't been sworn in yet,
Okay.
you can't vote today. Okay. Not that we vote on a lot here, but
Okay.
And you're an alternate. Normally, I would move you up to a regular member, but since you haven't been sworn in, I'm not going to do that since you can't. It would be regular just for the purpose of today's meeting. Okay. That's why alternates are there. But although 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, you know what? I wouldn't be doing that because we have 5 regular members here. So strictly speaking, you're not supposed to participate since you haven't been sworn in. But again, I'm gonna stretch bend the rules a little bit given the nature of our committee. I think if you have a question or something today, you can feel free to ask or wave at me and let me know your question, and I'll ask the question. Okay.
And just to clarify,
yes,
I did have my Zoom meeting with Dan Gawetsky, Bruce,
yeah,
and another woman.
yes, Jill Russ.
Yes, and then, and from what I understand, my name was brought up at the town council meeting.
Correct.
For all members that are participating in things. So I guess the next step is to go get sworn in, correct?
Correct. Your name was not only brought up with the whole council, but the council voted to seat you.
Okay.
So council is done with you. You've been appointed.
You're out.
You just need to be sworn in. And David, your letter indicates that you should also go and take the oath of office. You did. So you've been excellent, which they emailed to me. So I put it multiple ways. That's great. Okay, so you've been sworn in, so we're good to go. Now, with that, let's look at our minutes from our meeting of our December 4th, 2024 meeting. We have the minutes in front of us. Are there any questions or corrections on those minutes?
Yes, I do have on page 3, paragraph 2. The third line from the bottom, we say there approximately 40,000 for housing rehab. That should be approximately 35,000.
Okay,
That's the maximum loan amount.
got it.
Not page 3, it's page 2.
Yeah, it's page 3 of our packet. Now.
Yeah.
Yep. Perfect. So we will change that 40,000 to 35,000. Any other corrections or changes or questions about the minutes?
Not a big deal, but it goes from 1 to 2. Never mind, doesn't matter. Page number.
Yeah, it's the packet versus the minutes page numbers. There's 2 different sets of page numbers, but it's page 3. Okay, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, so our minutes were approved unanimously. Thank you very much. Then we can go to our agenda and our staff report. And Marshall, Marshall, correct, okay. You can give us your update.
I'll try to include a little bit of program background and meet the committee, so I think very days before. I apologize
Oh, that's okay.
for that. So housing rehab is the program that the town of Groton has participates through the State Department of Housing. What that is we can give homeowners up to $35,000 in loan for housing repairs. Those repairs, there's a strict list that you can, of activities that we can do within the home as we do the repairs. So, just in short, sanitary upgrades per se, so that the home is, of greater value, but it's to ensure that if there's things that are below standards, that they're brought up to standard. So, not going to be chandeliers or anything, it's going to be, normal lights. I know I say that all the time, but there is example there. The town currently has two programs. As I said, one of the programs is through the state's community development block grant program.
And if I can just add, Marshall, it's through the state, but it's really federal funding. It's the reason this committee is called Community Development is we oversee the community development block grant funds that come from the federal government to the state, and the state gives them to the town. So state and federal.
Yeah. Thank you for thinking that. And that program, I'll go into some detail about that one, but just to give a high level difference between the two programs. The other one is our ARPA program, American Rescue Plan Act program. They are similar in nature, but there's a little bit of differences there. The second one, the ARPA program, kind of allows a little more flexibility as to what type of work we can do for the household or homeowner income requirements for that one. And I'll go into a little more detail about that one too. Here. Just a note, an update from our previous meeting. We do operate under a wait list. So homeowners who are interested in participating in our program express their interest to our office here at the Annex. And we currently have about 10 applications on our wait list.
And is that 10 on the wait list for both programs or 10 for one of the programs?
That's what I'll get into now.
Okay.
Also, so the reason why we try to keep that wait list separate of the programs because one homeowner might have different needs and might qualify for one versus the other, or you find that and so a big part of why we keep that separate is that when we do our review, we can then contact the homeowner and say, based on your, I'll say, profile for now, for vacations, it will be better for you to apply for this. So instead of applying just one of the two programs and getting denied, we try to be a little bit more proactive and ensure that if there's an opportunity for homeowners that we are allocating the best resources for that. So the 10 is outside of the two programs. But once we get close to the current in progress project, then we reach out to the ones next on the wait list and let them know which program we should be just on. And then I'll go into the community development block grant program.
Let's just hold on. So does anybody have any other questions about the housing? Either were the housing programs were good. We got 10 on the wait list. We got a
And
whole,
on the wait list altogether, that might spread out to one group or the, okay. I just want to make sure I was clear on that.
yep. Great.
And you could say that we should just reach out to everyone who wants to challenge with that once you've already done the initial contact. That's people, and I understand it's hard for people to wait longer, once you already know that it's going along, it's in progress. And the challenge with that program does not operate as in the private sector, not as fast, so it might be sometimes before we get to the application. And so, that's just to hold back from people really contacting about updates and things, until we are able to really get to your application.
Marshall, do you know how much money is available in each of the programs, the CDBG program and the ARPA program?
Yes, I'll go into those
Okay.
programs now and then kind of give a, the funding and what's
Okay,
remaining in those balances there. About the CDBG, Community Block Grant Program, also known as Program Income for some, so if you hear of Program Income Program, that's the housing rehab program, it's just that what the federal and state government call it. An example of characteristics or variables in this program that households need to meet is 80% area median income by household size, so number of people in the home, the income in the area. Under this program, we currently have 6 projects, but homes we are working on.
six who've been approved,
Who have been
who are
approved.
in the
Yeah,
program.
in the program, so it's nothing to do with the way that they are,
Yep.
we are going and moving along with those. There are current, a few updates that happened this week, but I'll include those in our next meeting. So the estimated cost for those 6 is $210,000. That's including program costs. The program costs are the overhead costs, for the work we do on the home. The loan amount does not include program costs, just, construction costs is only fees that are applied to the loan. So that number of residents helps. So this is the household size. So 6 applications, there are 18 people they're calling, we're helping with this loan. It's a good number to highlight, just to remember that, yes, it might be 6 homes, but number of people we are working with, trying to help. Celebration of that. The current balance for the CDBG program is $270,000. The current balance is as of a couple of weeks ago, I think. So the 210 that's estimated is not necessarily removed from that amount yet. So the 6 projects that are in progress are all completed and cost up to $35,000. We have about $60,000 left for the CBD program.
Okay, so 270,000, but essentially 210,000 of that has been committed or earmarked, so to speak, for the 6 projects, leaving 60,000 available for other people who are applying. Okay. Got it.
Question,
Mhm.
the 60 million?
So
Thousand.
$60,000 left will be, how do I want to say, will be increased when the people that have been helped previously either pass away or sell their property. And then their loans are repaid back into that 60,000, correct? Okay. So that doesn't increase any other way?
there are times if you have 0 funds remaining in your balance, that you may go back to the state and apply for CDBG funds specific for housing rehab.
Okay,
But if I recall from years ago, having learned over the years here, we're applying for the other CDBG program that we'll talk about later. This year, we've got an application in for the 2024. Okay, 2024. Because my understanding is we can't in the same year apply for both funds for housing rehab through CDBG and apply for the CDBG grants that will help the low-income senior housing projects. That's my understanding from the past.
Another perspective to that is that you cannot have more than 2 CDBG grants open at the same time.
okay,
So, so there might be, 1 year after the other, you know, they might not all be in the same year, apply for the same year, but if there's more than two open at the same time, you cannot apply for another one until one of those two.
So the last grant that was done on Knowing Homes or whatever they want to call themselves.
Mr. Critter.
Wherever, those guys
Yeah.
down in Knowing. That one has closed out. We're asking now for a new one to finish what needs to be done there. Will they overlap each other so that no, one has to be completely cleared before the next one comes?
It depends, but if, say, we're working on the same project site, we go through the closeout phase of that project. If you've gone through that closeout phase for that grant and that grant amount,
Mhm.
you closed out with that grant.
Okay,
When you apply for new grants, it might be the same site, but if you're applying for a new grant, then that grant amount is for specific project period.
Right.
So it's a new grant, but same site, but, you know.
exactly. I was just wondering if the old grant had to be completely finished on that, on any site before Groton could ask for another grant to any other site,
Well, that's why I said that,
but only if it's finalized.
I think
Then
I
yes.
think the work has to be finished. We have to be careful because the term closing out the
Right.
grant, we've learned, can take, the state
yeah.
can take a long
Forever,
time
yeah.
to, on paperwork, close out the grant. But as long as the project, the work has been finished,
Mhm.
then we're eligible to apply for another round of funding. I think that's the way to think about it.
Yes, but as long as there's not more than two grants,
Okay,
you know, I think that's a big catch thing. Whatever you have open cannot be more than two grants.
But when you say open, does that mean it hasn't been closed out or that the work has been finished?
We haven't closed out, the project is not closed out. So not necessarily the state, you know, review process and what they need to do from there, but from the work that we propose to complete, you know.
so if we went down to zero on the 60,000 or 60 million, whatever you said. I'm investing my money there.
It's in the bank.
But anyway, if we have to ask for money, it will not be, will it be a grant? Or is it a loan?
It's, the state owns that program.
It's a grant to the town. It's
So
a
that
grant.
would be like a second grant if we got to zero and needed more money.
It's, so we operate that program, but it's the state's money, even now, as we speak. That 270,000, it's the state's money. We just operate the program. So whenever they add more money to the program, they are allocating it to us, but it's still their money. They can take it back at any time.
Okay, so it's not considered a second grant.
Yeah, it's,
Okay, that's where I was going.
you have to apply for it though, yeah. It's not
Right.
that you don't just get allocated funds whenever you get there.
Okay. I got you now.
Yeah, no, they don't.
I think it remarks like applying to increase your line of credit. Be very certain point
No, I think of it as just getting another grant. We do loans.
See, the word grant is where I'm caught up,
Uh-huh.
because if we're doing the CD, I never did that right.
CGD.
The big one for Mr. Combs,
Mhm.
that's a grant in my eyes, and they're giving us money to help this place. The second one, if we have to apply for money, if we end up at zero, if we have to ask for more money, is that another grant?
It's a competitive grant process. You have to apply for another grant. I don't need to speak over you.
Yeah, no,
I
that's
think
okay.
that's correct.
Does that go against the big grant as an open grant?
No, yeah.
Okay,
They're two separate programs.
two separate programs.
One is
Okay,
for housing rehab.
one is
One
two.
is for low-income senior housing. They're actually two totally separate.
Okay, that's, okay, I got you now.
That's why I say it's the state's program, it's not ours.
Right,
It's just that it's run to us full housing.
Did they pay us to run this?
No. But they cover the expenses of the program.
They cover the expense of the program. Okay.
And that's
So
where,
there's nothing coming out of the Groton
no,
till
no.
for any of this.
And that's why I say, program costs. So those other expenses, that program still pays for, but it's not applied to the homeowner. But it's,
Right.
you know, that the program itself covers the whole thing.
And there's nothing that comes out of the Groton till except staff time.
Yes,
Okay, well, that's
They don't
Yeah.
give the, included in the grant is not reimbursement for your staff time. And operating these grants takes a fair amount of staff time.
obviously.
But okay, good questions, Marge, good
Okay.
question.
I think I'm straight now.
no, that's good. And that's where, that's good because it leads into the next program and the difference between the opera program and the CDB. The opera program is the town program now, and the funds, are utilized based on the town's housing rehab. The programs are designed to be similar to the CDBG program in the fact that it's a revolving loan program. So again, as people pay back, the program would stay in existence as long as, you know, they have funds in the account. Where the funds dry up and you don't have funds for 10 years, and then 10 years later you start getting funds, that's how we operate that.
Okay.
Program. So it'll hopefully forever be, you know, moving forward.
Would you be able, just a question, I don't know. Would you be able, should you go to zero and nobody on the, you know, everybody's 55, they're not 75. And it doesn't look like you're going to be getting any more money back for quite some time. Can you go to the town and request funds to replenish?
With the ARPA program, I believe the council approved additional funds of 200,000 to be applied to the program. There are, I believe, the ARPA coordinator and town attorney pertaining to how future or remaining funds from the ARPA program will be used. I don't have the details right now of what exactly the allocations were earmarked for all funds moving forward. I can try to find out. Exactly.
Yeah, my thought is, okay, so if we can help X number of homes with this town grant, and it will be paid back eventually sooner or later. But if we hit zero and we can't help anybody, can you at that time go back to the town and say, I've got 6 people on the list, can you help us?
There currently is no other identified funding source other than ARPA, so it would have to be something different to ARPA that we are requesting from the council.
Right. I think the answer to the question is yes, sure, of course. Staff could go to the council and say, we recommend that you allocate X amount of money for this. We just all have to understand the right.
So
We're having trouble funding the schools.
Yeah.
Right. We're having trouble operating our core services as much as we'd like to help homeowners. That's just not a core function of government. So the answer, yes, the staff can always go and ask the council for more. But we in the public need to understand.
So it's not technically, even though it started as an ARPA program, doesn't have to remain an ARPA program. ARPA money,
It's not an
started it.
ARPA, I don't know that I would call it an ARPA program. The funds originally came from ARPA.
Right, but it doesn't necessarily only have to be.
Correct.
You know, suppose I died and I left my estate to the town to put into this.
Yep.
Could that happen?
I hope not, but it's good.
Well, maybe
Money from the first
No, well, the first part, yeah,
I would
I don't want
say-
to go anywhere. That my daughter would have a bit, but anyway,
I would say
That could
yes,
happen.
Mark, that absolutely, in the same way that people can give money to the town social service department.
Exactly.
And specify it. If someone wanted to give the town money and say,
Okay.
I would like it to be used for the purpose of helping homeowners who need funds to rehabilitate their homes, sure.
Okay, I just want to make sure that it's not ARPA-based money only.
No.
That's why I'm saying, can you go to the town and ask for more? Because there's no more ARPA money.
It came out of that whole big housing study,
Mhm.
which you may all have a copy of except Denise, but if we should send you, it was a recommendation of the full study that was done of people with housing. You probably ought to create a fund in addition to the CDBG housing rehab. And so they decided to use some ARPA money to create that. But they could put money from others, they could put money from the general fund
Okay.
in there, they could put some people, absolutely. You agree? Yes.
Okay.
What does our,
American Rescue Plan Act.
It was the COVID money when the federal government did all the injection of federal money to help municipalities and
You got
COVID.
like 10 million, million
Yeah.
at that time.
Yeah, okay.
The town did not the program. It could have been, felt like it.
So right now, there is money in the local, the town program. And the guidelines for people to qualify are a little more flexible than the guidelines for the CDBG housing rehabilitation program. Okay,
But I also want to point out with that flexibility doesn't necessarily mean that we are not properly managing the program. There
Right.
are strict requirements that, for fairness for every homeowner in the town, the program has eligibility criteria. We have to, but flexibility in, if it's an emergency and you only need to fix this one thing and nothing else that, can enter to, allocate resources towards that, if you qualify still. So it's not,
right.
anyone, So in December, I reported there were 6 applications pending in that program, the ARPA program, or Groton Housing Rehab Program.
Mhm.
We currently have 2 in progress. What that means is they've gone past review, and we are initiating the, site visit, environmental review, lead testing, and, those type of activities that typically happen before in the construction project happens, so filing permits, things of that nature. This full in review, and when I say reviews, and just verify things. Then sometimes there's also maybe we don't have income verification from a homeowner. I've communicated to them, and they just haven't gone back to me, so do that. And I will highlight too, and I understand that, we all have things going on in our lives, but a big part of our delay is also waiting on homeowners to give us what we need. We're not gonna run after anyone, but we do hope that, if we ask for something, we can get it to us as soon as possible. Because there are others on the wait list that we need to get to, and so the challenge to move forward with everything if we are waiting on someone. In that program, estimated cost, right, that's including programming costs too for that program specific. There's 168 estimated thousand, for that program, if all 4 were worked on. And again, program costs for this program to be put in so that it doesn't necessarily come from the town budget, but the program's operational funds. The number of residents we are helping that program is 13, so of the 4 applications, there are 13 members of the different households that we are trying to help. The current balance in that program is 375,000.
Less the 168.
Nope, that's, well,
It should
Minus the 160, 375, and the
Right,
total, but 168 committed for those 4 projects.
Of the,
If
that's what I'm saying, yeah.
Yes,
so if you take the 168 out of that, we'll have 207,000 left
Available,
available for each project, so other projects.
okay.
so 60,000 available in CDBG, 200,000 to 207 available in the local program. To help homeowners.
Just as a reminder again, I typically don't include those numbers. As I say, the state program, the state could ask for their money at any time, so when we do our math or whatever, it's not affecting anything, so yes, it is 267,000.
Okay.
But if the state comes back, it's about 200.
Well, now we're gonna ask for 60 million.
Okay. Good.
Now I'm gonna go into the COVID-19 PPE stockpile grants that we applied for in 2020, but started in 2021. Again, this is just an update on that grant. So technically that grant is closed for us, but the state is doing their review of the grant and their closeout process of the grant, and we have not received confirmation that their review is done and we can move on from that.
So that's an example of we're done, but the state is still going through. And the COVID-19 stockpile, Denise, you may remember when the town was providing free tests, masks, all that a lot of that was done with funding through this to be applied for in that program. That's closed. That's done.
And all products are out to the general public. We don't have a stockpile anymore.
The masks, do we still have?
We have some of the expired things. Those will need to be. I've checked with the Department of Public Health and how to handle those materials. Those are things we did not
Right.
give up to the public.
But do you still have masks or?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah, there's
So
a box of masks.
right, I saw
here.
that coming in.
Yep.
Okay. Good to have those.
So we do have more masks.
Yes,
still
yes,
available.
there's some of those things that maybe don't expire. Liquids and stuff like, well, they do expire, but some of those that are not necessarily expiring
the hand
sooner,
cleaner.
they have a longer shelf life.
Right. Okay.
And a good note there too, when you speak of funds completed, another characteristics of the state programs is that you have 2 years to use the funds of that grant. So you might not necessarily be done with the funds or, whichever comes first, but you also have a 2-year window to utilize the funds in that way. If you need an extension, you have to apply for extension and give you reasons for why you need extension, and that's why this COVID grant has come till end of or mid 2024, because we have applied for extensions. I don't know if you remember, we purchased more test kits and the time of the year, so that's why.
But we don't have any more money in that hasn't been spent. All the money is, okay.
Well, when we did our final extension and the extension ended, any funds were returned to, we're never given what's the reimbursement program.
Mhm.
So
So
we
we're
did
just
not,
waiting for the state to reimburse us now.
they have been reimbursing us as we move along, every 6 months.
Okay, so they'll do like a little final one when they're done.
We don't have any more purchases, and we cannot purchase anything else past the final end date of the program.
Okay, so we're just waiting for them to say, okay, you're done.
Yeah,
Okay,
if we buy anything now,
it's
it's
on us.
the town, yeah.
Okay. Understood.
So really, you can probably stop putting that one on our agenda going forward.
Yes.
That's kind of done and off our. Okay,
So the 2024 small cities, CDBG grant application we submitted in 2024, I believe. We received,
Did you skip the other one, the neighborhood assistance act program, the 2024?
that is next.
Next.
yeah, on our agenda, the other one's first, but it doesn't
No,
matter.
it's that border.
Ah.
Or maybe not,
That's the
maybe
previous
I'm
meeting, that's
looking
the
at,
previous meeting.
you're right,
Oh,
I'm
okay.
looking at the,
Yeah.
you're right. Yep,
The
sorry,
report, yeah.
sorry, we were both looking at the other thing.
I think he's looking at the minutes.
Yeah. Yep, got it. We're good. So now we're talking the small city CDBG grant application.
For that grant, we applied with Municipal Homes for $2 million. We work such as roof replacement, siding, some of the interior finishing, kitchen repairs, upgrades. A decision was announced mid-February, and 8 municipalities were awarded grants, and Groton did not receive, or was not selected for the 2024 program.
Okay.
But here again, when you apply for this one, you can do it again next year, but you didn't ask for the elevator.
Yes, that was one of the.
That was one, okay, but you didn't
the-
mention that.
Anyone else too? So the CDBG grant that we applied for in June of 2020, it's a very competitive grant. There are municipalities all over the state applying for these, and there's a limited amount of money. Groton's done really well in recent years, being awarded the grants. This year they said, no, to Groton, we're giving money to some other towns. So it's no fault of anyone here. It doesn't mean it wasn't a good project. Doesn't mean we won't get it again. It just means the need for CDBG money across the state is huge. And the available amount of money is very limited. So we don't have that for this year, but we'll try again another year.
And
And
yes,
is that every year?
yes.
Okay,
And then, and as you can see to the chair's point, only 8 municipalities were so out of the entire state of municipalities that qualify for this program, only 8 receive funds. Every year, only that, I don't want to say 8, sometimes depending on the project cost. A lot of times, one project might require, maybe a few projects might require 2 million each. And so it's a smaller number of awards that they will give instead of in. They would like to give more, but if the funds are limited, it's a challenge.
Can you get us the list of which municipalities were selected, Michelle?
Yes, but anyone can also look it up, the governor's press release page, on the State of Connecticut website, he releases, the announcement of who was awarded and what they were not awarded for. If you want, you can do that, but I can also print it out and share it with them.
If you could print it out and have Lauren email it to us, I would appreciate that. I'd just like to kind of see who did get it.
and why didn't we?
They don't always.
I know, they won't tell you
won't
that.
tell you much, except you just didn't rise to the level of these other towns. And it just, again, Groton has received many of these grants in recent years. Other towns didn't, so kind of, it wasn't our turn.
So now, did the previous grant that we did receive, did they go to like Quantic Road? What is that?
Quantic Village?
Quantic Village?
Pequot Village.
Pequot Village.
So in the first, I have a history that I wrote up. You guys all got it back when I brought one for Denise, but I may print it again for all of you. Yes,
I remember getting that.
yeah, this was a year or two ago. I might have done.
I might have been in Florida.
Oh, okay. I'll get it out to everybody anyway. It's a history that explains when we, Groton, first started applying for these CDBG grants. And yes, the first ones that we got went to the Groton Housing Authority. We worked with the Housing Authority, and that money was used to renovate the units. You remember going over. and
Yes, I
looking
remember. I'll never forget that.
at- Yes.
And here's your history too.
Thank you. Mark, okay, you've got one. This is, I'll give, Denise, you can take this home and look at it. You're not gonna, I think I might have given you one, David, when you first came on. But my point is simply, yes, that money, the town did receive the grants. And for at least 2 years, we worked with the Groton Housing Authority so they could renovate Pequot Village, a bunch of units there. And then they also built some really state-of-the-art units
Those were really nice.
that we would be happy to live in.
Yeah,
They're
yeah.
that nice. And then they did get, I think, I'm not sure they ever got money from CDBG for Grasso Gardens. They were looking at that. They were looking at bringing money from other sources to do work at Grasso Gardens. But I think that's all on hold now, given what's happening, unfortunately, with the Housing Authority. But yes, the early CDBG grants was with a different executive director over there at the Housing Authority.
Okay.
And it was before your time here. Did that answer your question?
Yes,
Lauren?
it did. Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, so we won't be hearing more about the COVID stockpile because that's done. We won't be hearing CDBG on our next agenda because we won't have at least the 2024 grant. So we won't really be hearing about that in our next meeting.
I will be attending, they do have every year, kickoff meeting with announce that year's CDBG program. And each time they announce what their priorities are, like what their projects they're looking to fund and what the needs are that they're identifying. So just to kind of listen. Get an idea of that. April, May sometime. And so I'll attend that, provide an update on that.
Good. Okay, that's good. Now we'll go to the Neighborhood Assistance Act, Don.
The Neighborhood Assistance Act, just a little background, is the State Department of Revenue Services program. That's for community-related nonprofits. It's an opportunity to partner with businesses in the state and local area for tax credit up to $160,000 for project needs. There's 100% tax credit for write-off, however you want to say it, for structural type of upgrades to nonprofit properties. But then there's the 60% tax credit for program-related type of activities within these nonprofits. So that's education, job training, those type of initiatives. The state announced March 6th that this program has launched, and the nonprofits are basically ask for project description and kind of important information about the nonprofit to verify that they are legit nonprofit, truly a part of the community. And part of that verification is that it needs to go to a public hearing to the town council, and the council also has an opportunity to ask questions to the nonprofits pertaining to the contributions they make to our community and the project needs that they might have. The state does have final approval of the applications that we send to the state. Applications to the Department of Revenue Services are due July 1st of each year. So we need to have had our public hearing and council meeting before that date. So you'll hear about the Assistant Act for a couple of the meetings. You'll look for the council of the whole and council of the RTM too, so you'll hear about it.
I do have a question about last year. 3 slides for our public schools, for our children's center, and Thames Valley Council for community and TVCCA. 2 were approved.
Well, all 3 were approved by the Department of Revenue. So
All
All three
were
approved by the council.
Oh.
All three
And the
were
council.
approved
Everybody got approved, all 3 of them.
by the council and by the
2 of them got accepted for payment.
well, I'll say the council doesn't approve, council controls.
No, I'm not talking about town,
Okay.
I'm talking state.
Oh,
The
yeah,
state approved 2 of them,
all 3.
all 3, they were good programs. 2 of them came back and said, I got somebody, I got a company, I got AT&T, I got
They contacted them.
Breezeline, I got somebody that's gonna put this bill for me.
Yeah, just for Denise, who's making a face over there, let me
Yeah.
just slow down and clarify.
Okay,
So the nonprofits that come to the town and say, I need $60,000 to update my air conditioning. Town council says, great, you're a good nonprofit, we approve you. So the state says, yep, you're a legitimate nonprofit, good project. But it only gets funded if the nonprofit finds a company, Groton Utilities, Pfizer, EV, electric, to do what's called a tax credit program, where instead of paying taxes to the state, they give some money to the nonprofit to do the project. And what she's saying is only 2 of those 3 nonprofits were able to find a business to fund their project. I think that's what you're saying, Marge.
that is exactly what I'm saying.
Okay.
Thank you, very good. Thank
You're
you.
welcome. What's your question?
My question is, Groton Public Schools, 141,000 was for the auditorium at Fitch Senior. Were they not able, or did they not see?
They did. I was in communication with them, and they spoke to a couple of companies.
Okay.
It's just that if that business does not.
Oh, I fully understand that. If you can't get somebody to commit, you can't. I understand that. I just wanted to make sure that the BOE, our school district,
Oh, yeah.
actually actively went out.
Oh, yeah.
And I also want to back it up just so people understand, because you might think, wait a minute, school board, school system, looking for money to update the auditorium at Fitch High School. Sounds like something the town might fund. Well, the Board of Ed did ask for it in the capital budget that year. The town council said no. We think you should apply for Neighborhood Assistance Act, do it that way, see if you can go get some funding from a company. They did, they tried, and that didn't work, so. It's just
However,
legit.
that budget year.
Yeah.
Town council said, no, we'll find money, see if that works first. Goes to RTM, no. Town council said, okay, with the stipulation, you try this. They tried this, they didn't get it. Town approved the 141, council did. When it got down to budget time, budget said, no. We're not gonna approve that 141. That 141 then went to the RTM. RTM gave it back to the school. So the RTM is like the Congress, they're the pocketbook. They got the final say on all. So when the town council says no, they can bump it back in.
So you're saying the school system did get the 140,000?
Oh, yes, they did.
From, with the RTM?
With the
Okay.
budget,
I
yes.
did not know that.
Yeah, we
Okay.
paid,
Okay. I did not know that.
because the
So they ended
stipulation
up
was,
not, they ended up not needing it
right,
from the neighborhood
by
assistance.
getting that 141 from the town.
Yeah.
The town was in agreement with the school district that should you get somebody to pay for this, you will reimburse us that 141.
Interesting.
Okay, it was. I mean, it was all right there. in the meeting.
Yep, okay.
Like,
My concern was, did they actively go?
oh, yes. Yes, we did, both, pass applications that different organizations apply for and types of businesses that they need to reach out, to, and, and they did this,
Yeah,
constant
well,
communication.
And my main concern about that is, with 87.9 million budget for the year, a year, for the school district. That's huge. We taxpayers pay 65% of it. Now, that being said, they come in and they keep asking for large increases and not showing any improvement in this.
Marge, I think we're going
We're
off topic for,
off topic,
for
but
this
that's why
committee.
I wanted to know, to make
Okay.
sure that the school did indeed actively seek.
And really, the message has been that we all need to understand this Neighborhood Assistance Act program. It's a great program, but it only works if there are enough businesses.
Right.
Willing to apply for tax credits to make the funding available for the nonprofits. Otherwise,
Do the businesses have to go through any approval process, or is it almost they do?
Michelle, myself, for a nonprofit, or two businesses,
Yes,
doesn't have to be just one.
the program requirements are that the minimum contribution needs to be, $250, and maximum is $150. From, doesn't necessarily say one business, but the amount is more so. So if you have 6 businesses that all say, yeah, we'll contribute to a 6,000 project, no matter how much they can contribute, what the state will take is just that 6,000 that you asked for. They won't take any more from the business.
but 6 businesses could each give $1,000.
Yeah, that-
$6,000
exactly.
to a nonprofit.
That's interesting. I
Yeah.
didn't know that.
Yeah. We learn new little details
We
every
do.
time, don't we?
Learn something new every day.
Why does the state care what's the criteria to qualify a business?
Yeah, I don't know that we want to go too far into that
No.
here. That's a state, that's their problem, what they, but, certainly, the big companies, Groton Utilities, Breeze Line, those kind of things qualify. But what the state's criteria, I don't know. If you want to research it for us and come back with an answer.
That's an ex-state employee talking. That's
I know.
why- yeah.
I'm retired. They,
There you go. So you want to do the research project? Have at
Is,
it.
on September 15th to October 1st or 2nd, the state opens up the business application phase of this program. And there's a form online that the business can fill out. So you can look at that, and that will kind of give you an idea of the type of permission they're asking for.
But the other thing you've been telling us is that you, the town, you've been working more to try to put this on businesses' radar.
Yes.
And to try to encourage more businesses to participate. We're trying in that way to support the nonprofits, but we can't directly, the town can't directly ask the business.
Yeah, kind of influence or.
Yeah, there's a fine line of what you can do and can't do.
Yeah.
Okay, good enough. Anything else about Neighborhood Assistance Act? Any other questions? Okay.
Due to the town, April 14th. That date, we calculate based on council and RTM meetings that this needs to go through before, the hearing and we meeting at July 1st deadline, so it's very narrow margin there. What date and what we can do, so that's why April 14th is the latest we can.
For this year, so you're saying
Yeah.
soon,
Yeah.
actually, this will be starting again, so nonprofits, hopefully, maybe will be coming to the town council again, asking to be approved now for the next year.
For the 2025 program.
We can watch for that.
Yes, and that hearing will be sometime in June, I believe, early June, I would say.
Mhm.
So the early meetings will just be meetings to discuss the program and scheduling of the hearing.
So application April 14th, public hearing probably in June.
Yes.
Got it. So if you know any nonprofits, if you have any connection, you can say, hey, are you aware of this program? You could apply and the state to get some money.
Or you can give them my contact information on, I'll try my best to involve them.
Even better.
Yeah.
Okay.
The next one, Groton Community Conversation Events. Our next event will start for this year, April sometime. There's no official date yet, but if you go to the link, I believe the agenda pack was also emailed to everyone. So you can just click on the link on the packet too. It's a Greater Groton website that has the previously reported community conversation events and what's moving forward.
The recordings of those are available on YouTube.
Yes, you do.
YouTube. So if you haven't watched them, go to YouTube, watch them. A couple of them, I didn't see all of them myself, but I did see a couple. They were really, I thought were really good presentations.
They are also on GMTV. You said they are so informative
Yeah.
to the general public. There's so much there. None of us know.
Mhm.
Dave probably knows more than us because he was a counselor, but
Long time ago.
The goal with that program, again, is, as you said, is just to get information through various or different methods to the community. And questions or learn, from the community of what's going on or what are they seeing. Pay attention to it and, including our assessment.
Right, and to answer those sort of general questions that come up a lot from the public about housing. What are we doing about housing? What are we doing about development? What are we doing about using our kind of unused town property? Those kinds of questions. We're trying to get the information out there for the public, get people involved, have a conversation about it.
Yeah, I mean, that's a big point of the discussion, right? How people just speak, throw out ideas.
Is there a plan to do more of those?
Yes.
Going forward?
April is going to be, there's no official date, but I do know it's going to be.
April date, do you know the subject, topic?
There's many topics that it's just scheduling. I think the issue is finding location, speaker, so they're working for who can present on the stage and so on.
Okay, so that's not firmed up yet.
Yes.
Okay.
But we try to change the topics up so it's not necessarily the same topic every time. Covering various conversations that need to be had in this community.
Okay.
Everybody wants to know why we can't get a Trader Joe's.
That's what everyone wants to know.
That's my big question.
they will tell you why.
You can pass that along to planning staff, the topic of why can't Groton get a Trader Joe's? Right. That would be I like it, Don.
We could put it in the big wagon next, I guess, so I guess we could go in Benny's or something.
Oh, my goodness.
Trader Joe's, yeah.
Yeah, except now Benny's is a fitness.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
Benny's
Yeah.
is a big gym now.
Right, okay. That's
Yeah.
right, the job,
Yeah.
that's right, yes.
Oh, that used to be grand.
Oh, back in the day.
Yeah. I'm not talking to you right now. We determined, oh, it's Dawn, wait a minute, this is town staff, it could be. Hi, Dawn, this is Natalie, I'm gonna see that meeting as we speak.
Yes, I know, and I apologize big time. After we spoke,
I've got you on speakerphone here, just so you know.
pardon me?
I've got you on speakerphone, so the whole committee is listening to you. Do you want me to call you back after the meeting?
No.
Okay.
This, you could just pass along to Denise.
Yeah.
To come in and be sworn in.
We had that conversation at the start of our meeting, so she's aware.
Okay, very good. I just just check, and, that's done on the other side of the office.
Yep.
Okay,
Okay,
I will, all right, thank you.
thank you, Dawn.
Sorry,
Bye-bye. I thought it might be a follow-up to my conversation with her this morning. Okay. All right.
I'll go there right after here.
Any other information? Any other questions, comments, desires? Okay. Our next meeting, the meeting schedule was included in this packet. All right. And our next meeting is,
I won't be able to, Don and I won't be able to make that one.
ooh,
That's
September
two of us, so.
17th.
Yeah.
Yeah, so let's see. September 17th. Well, as long as Marge, Denise, Dave, myself can be here, we're good to go. September 17th,
Everything's
look
good for
okay?
me. So far?
Okay, good. So we'll stay on that schedule. Where are you going?
Yellowstone?
Oh, okay.
Trump doesn't include.
Yeah, we're
Okay,
nervous. All right, before we go off on that, if there's nothing else, I'll take a motion to adjourn. Dave moves to adjourn, seconded with Don. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstentions? Okay, our meeting's adjourned. Now we